I want to talk about censorship first, because the reason we're streaming on this digital freedom platform is because 4 months ago, on August 6th, we had a broadcast right in this studio. It was the second largest YouTube live stream in the world that day, second only to President Trump's coronavirus briefing. And based on the numbers of that episode and a previous one, we thought this would probably go on to be watched 30 or 40 million times. It was a massive episode. David Icke was in the house. And we got out of here and we're like, wow, this is going to be massive. 30 minutes later, YouTube deleted and banned the video. And we've been in this weird fight with censorship ever since. And we've been told in no certain terms by YouTube that I'm one upload away from being completely deplatformed.
Right.
And I've got 250 million views, 8,000 videos, 9 years, probably made them millions of dollars in advertising revenue. So I'm in this weird situation where I'm like in the penalty box. And I'm curious, you guys are growing massively.
Yeah.
You're getting big on YouTube. It's amazing to see. I'm curious, because I feel like it's maybe only a matter of time before you start bumping up against some of this censorship. What do you think of some of these digital platforms and, you know, the fact that you might start coming up against some of this censorship?
Well, it's interesting you say it, because I mean, you say you're in a penalty box, but I don't know who sets the penalty box up, who puts people in it, you know, who decides what should make you go in there in the first place, because there's no actual set of rules. You know, it's a bit like the new rules that we get told how to behave during this lockdown. You kind of go, so I can go and stand over there, but I couldn't stand over there with you because you're from a different household. But I could go to the pub over here and meet you in the pub, even though I don't know you, and I could start talking to you, and that would be okay. That's just kind of, for me, how YouTube operates, you know, because you don't know until you've done something that you shouldn't have done it, which makes it a bit difficult to operate as a broadcaster because you don't know quite where the rules are. I mean, it's slightly different for us because we are, technically speaking, a radio show which is broadcast on YouTube as a video.
Right.
So we are already behaving within a set of regulations which are set by Ofcom,
right,
who are inside the radio business.
Which means you can't say certain things.
Well, there are things that you have to be careful about. You have to try and be as balanced as you can possibly be.
Right.
There's always an argument going on about whether you're balanced as a broadcast itself or whether you're broadcasting in general is balanced.
Right.
You know, that's something that people go backwards and forwards on. There was an interesting piece actually written, funnily enough, I think in The Guardian, by somebody from Ofcom who actually said, you know, I think if the balance can be achieved overall, then that's okay, because it's kind of ludicrous to expect a personality-based radio station to not have personalities who have opinions.
Yeah.
And you have to have opinions. And I mean, there's nothing worse for me than broadcasters who pretend that they don't have any opinions, but they actually do. For example, Emily Maitlis on Newsnight, you know, when she launches an attack on Boris Johnson, it's clearly, it's clearly a biased opinion. I don't care that she's got it, but let's not pretend that it's not,
right,
and pretend that it's some kind of, you know, much holier than thou kind of measurement of what everybody thinks of the Prime Minister. So yeah, I mean, you're right. The bigger you get, I mean, I'm already getting more flack, I would say, on social media from the lefty brigade, because they now know who I am and they don't like what I do and they quite like to shut me down. So there's quite a few instances of people kind of piling on me. You know, I'm a big boy, I can take it, I don't really mind, but I think it's interesting that all of the kind of cancel culture appears to be cancelling in one direction, rather than another.
Yeah. Do you ever bump up against Ofcom regulations? Have you been censored or said don't do this or that?
I've had complaints against me. I think most radio journalists have, radio presenters will have, because the trouble is with the system that you can be broadcasting to 1 million people and one person can complain, and that's a registered Ofcom complaint, and then they have to investigate it and they have to find out whether or not you breached the law and breached the rules. And sometimes they can fine you quite heavily, which hurts a lot of businesses, even if they're big businesses, because, you know, nobody wants to have to pay out 20 grand or 30 grand or 100 grand of a fine just because somebody said something wrong, you know?
And do you have to be careful what you say off platform? Because I remember I had Max Kaiser in here who had a show on RT, and he said, Brian, don't ask me about the Queen, don't ask me about the election, because if I say it even on your show, the Ofcom can come after me.
Well, I've never had that conversation with anybody, no. Okay. But generally speaking, because I am a radio broadcaster and because I work on the radio for a company, that company would expect me to be consistent, I suppose you would say. So I wouldn't suddenly turn into some rabid version of rogue Mike Graham when I came on here. I probably will sound very much as I would sound when I'm on Talk Radio, because, you know, I'm not going to make claims about things that I don't know to be true. And I'm certainly not going to dismiss things that I don't know to be true either. I'm going to listen to people's arguments. This is the reputation that we've got, I think, at Talk Radio, where, you know, you don't have to agree with me. You know, you and I were talking before about Howard Stern. I mean, he's a guy who I sort of grew up in America listening to and watching. And he always used to say that, you know, people who like me listen for 20 minutes, people who hate me listen for half an hour. You know, and so that's kind of one of my mantras that I repeat to people and go, you know, I don't mind who you are or what you do or whether you agree with me or not, as long as you listen